Hey, what's up, guys? Mr. Foster's back here. Glad to see you all. Glad to continue learning. And remember, we're talking all about adaptations this week, okay? So let's go ahead and just dive right on in. So we'll start out just by doing a quick little review. So we know that, one, adaptations are for survival. So adaptations are a trait that enables organisms to adjust to their environment in order to ensure survival. Let's go over what some of those adaptations actually were. So we know that all different types of organisms can go through adaptations, including plants and animals. Pretty much any living thing can have some sort of adaptation to ensure its survival. So now let's look at the two major categories. Two major categories is either going to be behavioral, so it's going to be the way that the animal acts in order to survive, or it's going to be biological and structural, which means it's going to change its actual body parts over time. I don't want you to get confused and think, oh man, I'm a little lizard, I can't reach this leaf that's kind of high up. The next day I wake up, I'm going to have a really long neck. No, that's not how it works. It takes time. So over years, as animals start to evolve and change, then that's how those structural adaptations occur. All right, it's not something that happens overnight. And when we now are going back thinking about the types of adaptations that we were talking about, we know there are feet adaptations, limb adaptations, mouth adaptations, temperature adaptations, as well as defense adaptations. And all of these things are going to help those organisms survive in their habitat. All right, so now let's dive right on in. Claim, evidence, and reasoning. Adaptations helping animals survive in a specific environment. To demonstrate this, Mrs. Brown shows her class the three images of animals shown below. Each group must write about the adaptations of the animals and present their findings to the class. You have been assigned to the mallard duck. What structural adaptations help the mallard duck to survive in its environment? Write a scientific explanation identifying the structural adaptations of the mallard duck. So now I want you guys to identify what keywords would be important for us to pull out and focus on when going through and answering the prompts. I'll give you guys about 10 seconds to figure that out. Great. So some of the words that we should have identified were structural adaptations. And we could have also identified the words mallard duck, survive. And the reason we would identify those words is so that way we know exactly what animal we're talking about and we know exactly what we're looking for, which are those structural adaptations or the body parts that help the animal survive. All right, guys. So now we have to make a claim based on our prompt. And our prompt says identify some of those structural adaptations that will allow the duck to survive. Or what are some of the duck's structural adaptations? I'll give you guys a few moments to think about it, and then we'll come back together and I'll show you some of the things that you could have said. We could have said for our claim, the mallard duck uses its webbed feet and flat beak to survive in its environment. Now that we have a claim, we have to go back and support our claim with at least two pieces of evidence that explain what our claim is. So I'll give you a few moments to think about that. How does this duck use its webbed feet and how does it use its flat beak in order to survive? Our evidence, we could have said that the webbed feet help the duck paddle in the lake or the pond, which is going to allow him to move faster when he's swimming. And then we can also say that the flat bill helps the duck tip underwater when he's hunting for food and things like that. So now we have to do our reasoning portion. The reasoning is the explanation of why and how the evidence supports the claim. It should include an explanation of the underlying science concept that produced the evidence for our data. For our reasoning portion, what we could have said to wrap it all up, our conclusion statement, the mallard duck lives near ponds, lakes, or marshland environments. Over time, changes have occurred in the duck's appearance for survival. Webbed feet and flat bills are structural adaptations that help the duck move faster and easily access its food underwater. All right, guys, so now we'll have two short answer questions. First one says, what physical adaptations allow seals and walruses to survive in cold waters? Let's go ahead and identify those key vocabulary words. I'll give you about 5 seconds to come up with what you think would be the most important ones for us to understand this question. All right, so here are the words that I have underlined. So then that way we know exactly what we're talking about. We know what type of temperature there is. And we also know that the seal and the walrus will have to have something in common in order for us to answer this question correctly. Go ahead, take a few more moments. Think about what you would put down for this here. What would the seal and walrus have in common that will help them survive in cold waters? So the blubber on seals and walruses help insulate the animals and keep body heat from escaping. Remember that blubber is pretty much like a thick layer of fat, and it's an insulator. It's not going to let the heat get out. It's going to keep it inside, keeping them warm in those cold, frigid waters. Now, let's look at short answer number 2. What behavioral adaptations allow a black bear to survive through the winter? So what type of behavior actions now will he take in order to survive in the winter? Go ahead, identify those keywords, and then we'll jump right back into it. All right, so some of the words that I identified were behavioral adaptations, so that way we know that we're talking about the behavior, not the biological structure. Black bear, so that way we know what type of animal we're talking about. Survive in winter, so now we know that he has to survive through the winter. What would some of those behavioral adaptations be? I'll give you 10 seconds to think about that, and then we'll answer it and wrap up for today. All right, so one thing or something that you could have said is that black bears hibernate in the winter. They eat a lot before hibernating and then find a cave to hide away in for the harsh winter months. Okay, this is the last portion for today, and this is going to be the essay portion. And I'm really going to challenge you guys to answer this one all on your own, okay? We're going to work through the actual prompt itself, but then you are responsible for writing out your own answer, all right? So our prompt says, this bison survives in both summer and winter. Discuss the adaptations that allow this animal to survive in both seasons. Then discuss other organisms that can survive both summer and winter, and describe their adaptations that allow them to survive. Think about the behaviors and structures when you write about your examples. All right, so let's break down the prompt. It says this bison survives in both summer and winter. So we know we're talking about a bison living in both summer and winter. All right. Then it says discuss the adaptations that allow this animal to live in both seasons. So first, we have to state what adaptations allow the bison to live both in the summertime as well as in the wintertime. The second thing we have to do is then identify an organism that can also survive in both wintertime and summertime. And the third thing we have to do is describe the adaptations of that organism that allows them to survive in both summertime and wintertime. So you could make out a list of these things. You can state out a couple organisms that you know live both in summer and wintertime. You want to think about the behavioral, how the animal acts to survive, as well as the structural, what the animal is born with that allows it to survive. Well, that's it. That's all. It's been great working with you all. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Make sure you are studying, reading, doing all the great scientific things that I know you all love to do. It's been such an amazing time working with you this week, and I hope that you have a great day. Until next time, peace.